Hey.
Are we
You're
live?
taking photo.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Oh, are we live?
Yes.
Oh, we're live. All
How
right,
do you see?
cool. All
Hello,
right, we're live.
everyone.
Yes, hi everyone. Hello. So, welcome.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome to our second session of Green Conversations, which is basically a chat with different individuals in the green space by Green Nudge on several topics that we think you guys might be interested in. So yeah, and as you can tell from the title is called is knowing oneself through sustainability. And so as you can see today, I have two individuals here with me right now. We have Lee Seng, who is obviously from Green Nudge, that you guys are very familiar with. And we have Lena, so which is our special
Hi.
friend from Good Goblins over here. Yes. So
Everyone.
yes. Hello. Yeah. So currently there's been a lot of sharings, workshops, programs related to how individuals can get started on a ground up initiative or a green business, but not so much on how individuals manage themselves on a personal level in terms of how they cope mentally or emotionally when maintaining their initiatives in the long run. So obviously today's discussion, we're trying to be slightly different. We're going to be more inward looking and based on the experiences of Lee Sing and Lina, who started their own business within the sustainability sector. Yes.
Yep.
So Lina here, she's actually from Good Goblins, and basically Good
Yeah.
Goblins is a recycling platform in Singapore that provides collection services on a monthly basis to households, and she'll share more about it later on.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, so obviously today we're going to dive deep into our self-discovery journeys. I'm not sure why Lisa is laughing so much.
He's
As well
happy.
as well as share with you guys their challenges and how they overcame them. Not only that, they also share about how they what are some of their approaches in how they cared for themselves as well. So it's going to be
Mm.
a bit deep today, and we hope that you guys will learn
Gain something
something.
out of it.
Yeah, yes, that's right. Gain some things from Lising and Lina today. I do want to
And
caveat
also
that
Claire, by the way, I think we also want to say that it's not just the
Yes.
two of us. It's really an informal sharing here. And then I think
Yes.
it's really about the fact that as we are sharing, we are just chatting it out. And that we
yep,
hope whoever is watching can also then just hopefully there's something that will apply to your own life as well. And then really just treat this as like eavesdropping on a good friend's conversation here
Yes.
and then see how we are like as well. All right.
Yes.
all right.
Okay.
Yes, I have been arrowed by the boss. Yes. so
I also kind of arrowed you.
yes, I know. So okay, so I just do want to caveat that while both Lee Sing and Lina and myself, we're all from the sustainability sector and we're using this as a case study. We hope that whatever has been shared can apply to you, even if you're planning to start an initiative and it's not necessarily a business, but even a project that is totally new, and whether or not it's in the sustainability field or not. Yeah, so we hope that this will be useful for you. Last but
Mm.
not least, if you have any questions, again, do put your questions in the comments below. Yeah, so let's get started. Before we begin, I guess perhaps I could get you guys to introduce yourself a little bit more and tell us more about your initiative.
Okay.
Yeah, so Lena, since you're our special friend and guest, perhaps maybe you can share more about Good Goblins and what you guys been doing so far.
Okay, so let me share more about myself. My name is Lena Toh, and I don't often like share about good goblins lah. So I may be quite a new face, even though I've been doing this for like 1 to 1.5 years right now. So thank you, Lee Seng and Claire, for organizing this. I know this is quite difficult work lah. So Claire, thanks for organizing this whole Facebook Zoom thing. And
No
then
worries.
for our viewers, can you also comment like where you're from, and then maybe we can connect sometime. So for myself, I actually came from an architecture background. I studied architecture and sustainable design in university. So after 1 or 2 years of working, I realized that I was also searching for a kind of purpose. And I was very involved in a waste scene when I got very when I actually realized where I care about my waste a lot. I even went to hoard my recyclables from relatives and family to find out how much they are actually generating. So that I will talk more about good goblins later. So that's just a background of myself. Thank you. So maybe Lisa, you can talk about yourself.
Okay, so hello again. For those who have not seen me before, my name is Seng. I'm the founder of Green Nudge. So basically, we support businesses, we support communities to try and achieve a positive environmental impact through the activities that we do, like cleanups, workshops, outreach, as well as a broadly generally what you call it, sustainability consulting as well. So my background used to be in the government sector. I was looking at financial regulations and policies itself as well. And I thought that it's very useful for me to understand how policies work, shine a direction. But I think in order for them to also work effectively, they must be also complemented with the ground-up support. And I think for myself, I was actually more similar to actually how Lena was also influenced. I was also just puzzled or curious about like the amount of waste that was generated at my previous office space. And I was just wondering how could I weave in the elements here of human behavior as well as waste or environment to try and change the way that we behave around waste, basically. Yeah.
All right, cool. Okay, maybe I'll just share a little bit myself as well, since I'm a bit summoned. So I think similar to Lisa and Lena as well. Like for me, it basically started off with my interest and my love for nature as well. And then of course, when I see a lot of waste being generated by my family members, by colleagues, ex-colleagues, I get a little bit like tense. Like I'll get a bit frustrated. Like, oh, like is there something that we can do? And I felt like I wanted to use my time to do something that I believe in the cause that I believe as well. And so, which is why I was very lucky to stumble upon Green Nudge, and here I am with Lee Sing.
Yay.
Oh,
Woo.
Lena. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks. So, maybe maybe you can get you guys to also share like why, why
I
and
got
how,
started.
yeah, how do you guys get started? Maybe Lena, you can share first.
Okay. So for myself, right, I was working for 1.5 years in architecture and design. So that was also when I was a student, I was also exposed to the amount of waste we generated. So and that was particular in the area of making models. We made a lot of prototypes, and a lot of them were from styrofoam, cardboards, gray boards, that kind of thing. And we actually generated a lot of waste. And every time when we are done with a project or a prototype, we actually throw it away. So that was one thing that I got really affected by when I was a student. But I just okay, maybe that's just like a passing kind of thought. And then when I started working, um, I was involved in hospitality and commercial projects. So I was designing more of interior projects, master planning, and architectural projects for like hotels and hotels. So at a point in time, my job scope revolved a lot around about like what kind of faucet to use, what kind of tap to use for the basin, what kind of like color should the curtain be, what kind of fabric should the sofa be. So I also question myself, like, do I really want to be doing this? Because I was also searching for a kind of like a meaning and a purpose in my life. I wanted to do more, especially when I just graduated. I feel that young people should be more. They have the more liberty to come out and try new things. And let's say if they fail is okay because we do have the time to try and fail, right? So I actually had this calendar on my table. So I had this weird habit of like crossing the days off. And then as I cross the days, I realized that how come my days in front like the days behind? Like how come it's the same? You know, the road in front felt like the days that I actually crossed out. So it got me like started thinking like, is this what I really want to do? You know, as an architect to be or whatever. At the same time, I was also very involved in the news. January 2018, I remember. That was when the national swap policy arrived and China stopped taking in recyclables into their country. So just a background knowledge, 50%, at least 50% of the world's recyclables and waste has been going to China. So ever since that stopped, then I was thinking, oh my God, where is Singapore's waste and recyclables going to go? So that was when I started like, when I was still holding a job, I emailed like a lot of people like, all the waste and recycling people like hey do you all take in shampoo bottles, do you all take in waste, and where is all my waste going? So not surprisingly, not many people actually replied to me, so only one person replied, which was Thomas from IPC lah. So that was how I really also got involved in the entire waste scene. So after that, because of this really strong curiosity to know how we can reduce waste, not just as an individual but as a family, I actually took the leap to leave my job. That was quite crazy. I mean, like everything I haven't settled yet. I haven't go and like, find out where is going to be logistics and things like that. But I really wanted to solve this burning question inside me. Yeah. And also I actually went to, and how I left my job was also because I knew of this event in Scape. They had this like entrepreneurship program. So, and that requirements didn't have to be that of a enterprise or corporation already. So, and it also included, let's say when I have an idea, I can also join. So that was how I got started. So maybe Lisa, you can share yours.
Wait, I wanted to just ask one question first. And that is,
Okay.
why did you not want to pursue this on a concurrent basis? Like, you can jolly well look at this as a hobby, look at this as something that's on a side hustle. Why does it have to be, you have to leave your job?
Actually a very good question, because at that point in time, right, I was also listening to all the kind of podcasts about startups, right? And they're saying like, hey, you need to leave your job and do 100% on this. So I was like, okay, I need to be 100% on this. I need to leave my job. I need to like give up everything. So I was like, with the support of my friends, also of my very close friend, I'm like, okay, I'm going to jump straight into this like hellhole, which I didn't see that it was going to be a hellhole. So in the end, I left lah. But in retrospect, if let's say I didn't leave my job, I wouldn't have had the time in the daytime to meet people, to know about waste, go to the recycling factory and things like that. So I'm quite thankful also for my spur of the impulsiveness, Yeah.
Impulsiveness lah. So it's really like a just do it and then see how
I
is
think
it like.
it's also because like if the more I think about it and the more I ponder, I may actually get scared to try. Like I may in the end like, oh yeah, maybe it's too hard. Maybe it's going to be another passing thought. So I was very worried also. Actually, I spent 8 months researching on this waste and also
Okay. So it's not really impulsive, but it's really also a deliberate manner, just that you took some time to consider before you.
Yeah, I did consider over across 8 months. So entire 8 months while I was still holding my job, I was researching, talking to people. Then I realized that okay, after 8 months, I'm still thinking about it. I'm passionate about it. I'm like, okay, maybe I can give this a shot.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting because it's also very similar to how I was also looking at really where I think a lot of people would think that for myself, I was really in a very stable job and that also pays relatively well. And I think it is very useful, right? People when think like, oh, okay, you study so hard or you already have a good job or a stable career. So why do you want to jump out of it and try something different? And I think that's just like how you're saying it as well. I took the time to really go and see whether is it because it's a impulsive thought here or is it because there was something that was drawing me. And I must say that even though I didn't really know what I wanted to do at the very end of it or what was at the other side of the fence, I just know that it was something that would make me feel like if I don't try it out, for instance, I wouldn't know what it would be like. And then I'll just either leave with a regret over there or I'll just
precisely.
feel like I cannot do it, right? So
Yes.
I rather just try it out first. And I mean, what's the worst that can happen is that I might have to find another job again or something, right? So I feel like at that point in time, it was not something that I must say it's something that's very scary for a lot of us because try out something different, especially when all your friends are doing very reasonably well or doing really, really in their own respective careers. It is like, why are you so silly to go and try this out? But I just felt that it was something that it really made me feel that I must give it a shot. It will have no harm in trying out because the worst that can happen is that I will be back in the same position. So just try in a sense.
And to add on that, I think also for me, like the fear of not trying, like the fear of wondering what if I tried was more scary than me staying at the job. Like I feared so much that later at the end of my maybe like 10 years later, then I was so scared to think like, what if I tried out this? I didn't want to have that kind of situation where I wondered about that. So that was one of the very, very important thought process that led me to this stage as well.
So it's really like a fear of not trying as compared to what if I fail?
It is more of the fear of not giving it yourself and giving the idea a shot. Yeah, it's more of like giving myself a chance to try it out. Yeah, it's the scariness of not trying out that actually was more scary than any other things. to me lah.
Do you think
Yeah.
people would think like that? Do you think others would think like that?
Sorry, do you think, sorry, who?
Do you think do you think there are a lot of people who think in this manner?
I think many of, but to be fair, because also I have to also identify that if let's say my parents didn't help me partially with my school fees, then maybe I would have to think about it. So like, you know, when people start out, right, they say, hey, I can do anything. But we also have to be very cognizant of the fact that for myself, my parents did help me partially with my school fees. If let's say they didn't help me with my school fees, I might still be toiling away to like pay off the bank loans and everything. So that is one very important fact that I have to give credit to my parents and my family for. Even though they were like, you confirm, you know, don't know what is going to happen to you, you know. So yes, that's one very important thing. And also maybe like I think the idea is maybe because of the Asian mindset that if let's say you study architecture, you even study a master's, you jolly well go and be some like, you know, architect or designer lah, please lah, come on, you know, that kind of mindset. But but so my friends are also like, okay, are you sure you want to do this? Then I say, yeah lor. And I think it's also the fear of trying lah. It maybe because we are very comfortable in where we are, but maybe if we took a different route, it may not be as scary as it really seems. Yeah.
I must say this is also something. Sorry, Claire, just carry on first.
No. It's as I'm hearing that, I guess also seeing the time which you mentioned previously, and because we are still kind of like young adults, right? We have the time. We don't have a family yet, so that's why you felt also more impelled that you need to strike now. Is that right? This is to Lena and to Lee Seng also.
Yes, for sure. If let's say I have kids, then like I need to like young 5 kids, right? Then obviously I won't be like taking my time to try, because right now I'm aware of the fact that I'm taking the time to try and giving myself the space to fail, and giving me myself the space to talk to different people, be on the ground, and like, yeah, never mind, I will never earn money, never mind, you know, that kind of mindset. But actually it's wrong lah, you know. After a while, like after a while of eating into your savings, you realize that it's not going to be a sustainable solution, because if you don't have a very stable, if your startup is like, you know, like want to move, then your finances are so unstable, then psychologically you also feel like, wow, what am I doing this for the environment when me myself is dying, you know, that kind of mindset. So
Okay, so I want to pause here and share this also, because I think when I was deliberating my own choice as well, I was also told by a very good friend of mine saying like, while it's useful to understand why you're leaving or what you want to try and do, right? It can also be so impulsive to the point whereby you don't know where you want to go next. So I'm just trying to understand, like, you have a rough idea where you want to go, right? As compared to like, just say, I will leave first and I'll go and decide. Because ultimately, if that happens, actually my friend alluded me to this, which is that if that really happens, right, then what it means is that you'll just be in a path of exploring in a new space without even the support, money, and things like that. And then if it doesn't really work out, right, what happens is that you're just going back and forth again to ground zero here, which is, you know, you don't know what you want to do, and worst of all, in this case, you don't even have money to support yourself as well.
Right.
So
to bounce back the question, right? Like if I understand, Green Arch actually also, like when you were starting on your first initiative, were you also having like a job while you had a grant to try out something?
So I by the time I already left my former job, but I was still working on the side as an intern for another social enterprise. So that opportunity gave me just a chance to learn so much more from the previous role itself. But at that point in time, Green Arch was not so much of a company. It was more of an initiative, and I could just learn and apply as well. So but because my job then in a social enterprise was a lot more relevant to what I was going to do. So I think it helped me out by grounding me in saying that, okay, if I want to do an initiative, then I have to make sure that it covers the ground, it covers the certain costs. It also must make sure that if I want to do this on a long-term basis, then I cannot just see it as an initiative. I must then move along and make sure it's either financially sustainable or that the impact has to grow as well. That's really the point here.
Okay.
I have a question for you, Lisa. On that note, right? Because I mean, seeing how you became an intern first at another social enterprise, right? How did you feel like in a social standing? Like did it actually affect you, or it was something that didn't affect you?
Yeah, it was. It definitely was. I would be lying if I'm not, lah, I guess, because it was also, I think fortunately it was not a free internship. And I think that was also where I come to realize, for instance, if it's a free internship, it's actually very hard for anybody who is doing this to really make a living out of it as well. I think you can get some payment. You don't have to get a very high payment, but I think it's a bit, just a bit to cover at least the daily
Expenses.
necessities like meals or even transport. I think that's fine.
Mm.
But coming back to that, yes, it was actually quite a challenge because, at that age itself, others are already about to lead a team or do something else.
Yeah.
And then there I was, I took a
Trying something new.
96% pay cut and then, start over again lah. So basically, instead of like wearing, office attire, very nice to go to office and work, I was like in shirts and shorts and slippers doing other things as well. So it took a little bit of getting used to. It was not the expectation I had painted myself, when I was studying, expecting that I was going to get a good job and things like that. It certainly did not. It certainly did not come to me one day that, hey, actually, I could be doing something different from my expected study, lah, basically. Yeah.
Maybe you should share with the
Yeah.
viewers what you studied.
Okay, but if I must say, even if whatever I studied, I was also not relevant. It was not directly applicable to the work that I was doing. So in university, I did mathematics. So but in my actual it's not money. It's just it's a lot of stats. It's a lot of figures.
Theories.
Yeah. But when I was in my first job itself, it was a lot of writing instead. So it wasn't so much of the domain knowledge that I was applying. It was the writing itself. Yeah. So I think what I want to bring back right from all of this is the fact that, first of all, I think for a lot of us, let's say, especially the ones who are about to graduate or who are actually graduating already, I think the fear right now is that, should I try something new? Should I try something different? Oh shucks, I cannot find a proper job right now. So what should I do? I think the point that I'm hearing from Lena here, or even Claire, is the fact that I think it's okay to give something a shot, even if it's still relatively unknown. But I think it's also useful to just do some research, understand a bit more about what you're interested in, what are you actually curious about, and then give it a shot, rather than like just thinking like, oh, I will wait until when I'm ready. I don't think there will be a time when you're ready at all.
Yeah, you'll never be ready.
Yeah, we'll never be ready because you keep changing every single day.
Words of wisdom.
Oh, yeah. So, but I think also useful to let everyone know is the fact that even for Lena as well, you did architecture, you did a master's in that already as well, right? But you left to do something else. So it is fine to like just try something else as well. We don't have to be tied down by the fact that we are studying one course, and therefore it has to be a lifelong course as well. And right now, because I'm the boss, right, for instance, and I need to speak to people and hire people, right? I don't actually look for the course, I mean, it's useful to know what you're doing in the past, but I actually look out for the skills. What have you been doing during your school time? What kind of CCA were you doing? It doesn't have to be relevant, but it just needs to show that you're doing something. And I would like to also know, what were you strong in, or what do you prefer to do after that as well? Because that gives me understanding that actually you are taking that proactiveness, the initiative to go and learn. And I value that a lot more as compared to like, oh, you got your perfect score in school and things like that. Because I think, to be honest, right, when we receive resumes and stuff, even Claire can also let you know that we have so many people who do reasonably well, and that wouldn't be our differentiating factor at all.
I think the attitude is very important as well, because like in a startup, right, everything is so unstable. And also like most of the times, sometimes the bosses don't have all the answers. So I think the very important thing also is that the intern or the employee has to show that kind of proactiveness to like suggest or propose things that maybe can get some burden off like the boss or the founder, for instance. Yeah. Why are you laughing?
Because it is very true.
And also I think sometimes it's a very lonely journey. And then if let's say the employee can also help to like shoulder some kind of burden, it would be really, really helpful lah. And also like, because you are the face of the company, right, do you also find it very hard to like show the vulnerability, like when things get hard?
I think you should ask Claire this question.
Okay.
Actually, on the contrary, I found Lee Seng very open actually. Like he was quite vulnerable in a sense to myself and a previous colleague as well, who was also here in Greenwich.
Okay, pause. what do you mean by vulnerable first? For people who are not very sure what that means, what does it mean to be vulnerable in this case? When you're saying that I have shown to be very vulnerable.
Maybe like more of like openly sharing your feelings, like wow, today I'm feeling really like dejected or something, or like today I face a very difficult customer, or like someone said something very mean, like maybe your mood gets affected, then would you like actually share, with your
Okay, so now then the question goes back to Claire again.
I mean, for at least since working at Greenwich since I started, I think the most memorable moment actually, Lee Sing, was actually when you really did share like how you were like, especially, and this was actually, I think the first 2 weeks I started at Greenwich, so I was actually quite surprised, honestly speaking, like that you actually were so open, especially for someone like me who hasn't been here for very long, to share that you were like, what's the word? I need to like try to you were just not in very good state.
mood.
Okay.
I would say mood. Like you were even like you were quite open about it, like that you were like not doing very well. Yeah. And I think that also put me at ease. And I thought that was I remember also telling Lee Sing like don't worry, like feel free to just share with us your burdens and everything. You can just be open about it. Then Lee Sing, I know you were a bit paiseh about it. You're like, no, I'm just telling you so as to reason why why certain things have been like that or why I've been like that. So I guess also I think that actually, because in a startup it is a very small team again, and you are working like literally side by side. So it's very good that you did share lah, and I think that kind of managed my expectations a little bit and to just give you some space in a sense as an employee. Yeah. So and to not take certain things personally or whatever lah. So that was something that I can, even until today say, I remembered you sharing with us lah. Yeah.
Yeah, I must say, because it is okay, like maybe I would say, by the way, all this just said, it's not scripted, or I have no idea Claire was going to say this. So I think it is really just about saying, like, I feel like it has to be useful to be open as much as I can to the people around me as well. Because as a small team, I think it's useful to articulate what we're trying to do here. And because we have all taken perhaps that additional step of living a slightly more stable lifestyle and whatnot, I think it's already it can be quite anxious. It can be quite scary for a lot of us. So I think it is useful to share where we are. I cannot guarantee that it will be all stable and stuff, but I can only open up the fact that this is where we all currently are in the situation, and I invite you to come on board with us to do this. So I thought that is actually the reason why being open or being vulnerable here, it's not a deliberate thing. I think it's really the fact that if I want to invite you to join me as well, then I must also show you how I'm feeling at times.
And how are the areas that they can possibly like help you shoulder.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
there's certain things I can't quite share. Okay, so the only things I can't quite share, for instance, right, let's say are things that are things that, let's say, there's a lot of ideas, I can voice it all out. But if I share too many things, I can become quite lost, or I can be quite how do I put it? Goes too many ways. Floaty, right?
Yes.
And then if I give too many options and stuff, then I think that's where it's going to be very hard for anyone who I'm working with to say, hey, what should I do next? So I think my sharing here, sometimes if I can, and if I can't quite articulate out for some reason, I write it down in my own jotted book and things like that as well. I think for myself, what also useful is that I'm becoming more aware that I need to remove all these thoughts, like the Harry Potter thing, like remove all the thoughts and put inside something. So at least I can operate as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I think just looking at the time a little bit, I'll just move on a bit. Oh, but actually, right, I just want to add, like, just sharing from my side a little bit, right? Your sharing actually reminded me of how before I actually jumped into Green Nudge, and again, also, I share similar sentiments. It is a into the unknown. You're literally venturing into the unknown. Obviously, I'm sure it's more scary for both of you. But I remember reading this book, and it's called, I didn't prepare the book, but it's called The Quarter Life Breakthrough by Adam Smiley Poswolsky. So basically, it's a book that addresses people who want to, like both of you, who want to do meaningful work, but are afraid to start it and they didn't know how to. And so I think for those who are interested in starting something like an initiative or a venture or business, this book is actually not bad. It's quite, it gives some assurance. I'm not sure whether both of you have heard of this book before, but I myself even read it. Even though I wasn't starting an initiative, obviously. I don't, didn't feel called to, but
Okay.
I even read this book as well. So,
Mm.
and he did share that you can't just suddenly go on impulse. You really need to plan it out properly, go for
Yeah.
workshops. Like what,
Yes.
Lena, you joined that program by Escape, right? So likewise, it is very similar to what he has also mentioned, this writer, at least. Yeah.
Mm. I think what's useful to understand is as we are moving from one place to another in terms of our work, right? For instance, I think it's mindful. I think it's useful to note that wherever we're jumping on next, right, is not technically the final destination per se. It's like it's not because we jump to Green Arch, for instance, right, we'll do Green Arch forever. There might come a day whereby Green Arch may evolve, or we might move along as well. So I think for people who are saying like, oh no, I'm very scared to move along, right? It is not moving to a final resting point. It's really
Yeah.
just transiting.
Yep.
And
Yes.
when you transit and you need to move again, you just move. It is fine. And I think when
Yeah.
you've moved once already, it becomes easier to move each time because you get yourself clearer what you want to do, and then you move along as well. So
Yeah.
I think, so I really appreciate, because I think we can appreciate this because we have kind of moved a little on our own. And I think when I say all this, you can also understand for it, right? So for those who are seeing this as well and probably in a stage of contemplating moving along, either by choice, meaning to say you have either want to take a break from your current work, or by circumstances, which is that you are graduating, so you cannot, unless you fail school and redo again.
Yeah.
It is really the fact that transition is, in the grand scheme of things, still a very temporary thing as well. It doesn't have to be like, wow, I must make sure that I need to anchor myself down immediately.
Yes. And also like I think inherently inside your heart you kind of know like what you want to do. It's just that maybe you're afraid to try lah. And yeah, I kind of lost my train of thoughts, but yeah, I think you just have to also trust the process. Like I think for me, like when I started out Good Goblins, right, I initially had this vision that Good Goblins will be a recycling app, like a mobile app where everyone can track the waste they have for a household. But as I evolved along, I realized the many things that there was just not enough awareness on our waste, and people don't even have the kind of like inclination to want to know what is happening with our waste lah. Like, oh, okay, so what if Pulau Semakau is expiring? I'm sure someone else will solve a problem. The idea that there will always be someone else solving our issue, but not taking ownership of your own waste and the kind of things that you generate. So I think one important thing that I learned from Lee Seng and Reenach and Clare as well is that they actually had the adjustments along the way. But for me, how I didn't manage to like adapt at a point in time. I think because of holding on very tightly to the idea that okay, we need to have this ownership towards waste. But how do we slowly shift towards this? Like, should I still continue having this recycling service, or should I really just stop, take a break, and really think like, okay, maybe we should really focus all my energy on really educating people first and getting them to be really aware of what is happening. Because if like for Good Goblins, right, we understand that Singapore wants our citizens to be in a zero waste state, but through talking to 500 households at least, from my entire experience, I realized that how do you reach the zero waste stage is like super far when they can tell me things like, what do I get for recycling?
Okay.
So those are the kind
Maybe
of
I
moments.
pause here. So
Yeah.
I think, Lena, is it all right if I know you prepared some photos as well? Is it
Okay.
is it useful to share what do you mean by the recycling thing that Good Goblin is doing first?
Sure. Okay, so maybe I will share some photos, then y'all can tell me whether you guys can see the photos.
Okay.
Hold on a second. So because I don't really post online like on Good Goblins, you can tell that our Instagram is kind of dead lah. So basically, Good Goblins, we collect recyclables from households and we educate them on how to recycle effectively. So the entire the gist is to make them to be more aware of their waste lah. So I actually did some recycling classes and at a void deck with one of the RCs, and so how we really did the entire experience was that we did door to door, like day or night sometimes. Like we do it on weekday nights, weekends, and that was I got volunteers from National Youth Corps because they're
okay.
also a very good and bright team of youth that
Yeah.
want to change, like change
Wait,
the
wait,
world.
National Youth
Yeah.
Council or Youth Corps Singapore?
Sorry, Youth Corps Singapore. Youth Corps.
Okay.
Thanks, Seng. Yeah. So we were actually going door to door teaching people like what is happening with our waste and our depleting landfill in Pulau Semakau and getting them to recycle with us lah, for this like small monthly fee because we don't earn any money from recycling, right? So this was what happens during collection day. Like we actually have it either once a month or twice a month. So we really go door to door and collect recyclables, and then these are some of the things that they put outside. So we actually get them to sort paper, plastic, metals, and e-waste if any lah. So these are the boxes that actually is like cope some from NTUC because they wanted boxes. So
So how does this differ from, let's say, the usual of recycling, which is there are also neighborhoods around that actually does this thing from Tzu Chi, which is also a charity group that does monthly collection as well. So how does this differ from that?
So for the Tzu Chi ones, they are also once a month, but they are held mostly at the void deck. So the reason why I wanted to have this service also because for my area, right, there isn't any Tzu Chi nearby. So it means that if I'm not wrong, there's only like, I'm not sure how many locations there are in Singapore, but some people find it really a hassle to bring a one month worth of recyclables on top of a car and then you drive to a Tzu Chi collection. So for me, I really wanted to try out this door-to-door collection thing. So we go door to door and collect the recyclables lah. So
it's really closing the gap here in the sense of between from their household to literally a recycling point.
Yes, and we also because we always go to talk to them, like to touch base on like telling them, okay, can you please like clean your recyclables first instead of like having this juncture where you put your recyclables and you don't know where it goes. For us, we are very, very transparent about it. We tell them this is our recycling operator and these are our volunteers. We don't earn any money. So we are trying to also make the entire recycling experience different as well. With So and this was some very, very happy moments where our recyclers were really like enthusiastic. Like the next week, they actually bought their own recycling bins. So shout out to Ihan and Rebecca. They bought their own recycling bins, and it gave me a kind of validation also, like Good Goblins was doing something right. Because on the contrary, people believe that Singaporeans don't care about recycling, but there is actually a small minority that really care about it. They're like, oh my god, why do you only like why is it only now, So
and it was really true, you actually going to their doorstep and actually talking to them, right? That made them change, is it?
In a way, for the people who really like recycling, they were more responsive, but of course I also met many nasty ones as well. And then these are the volunteers. We make sure that it's quite a laborious thing because I also had to train the volunteers to kind of like differentiate what can or cannot be recycled, and yeah. So and then we also collect data because we don't want it to be such that like for all the other collection service, they come and collect and then they're gone. You don't know where they are, you don't know where they go. So for us, after we collect the recyclables, right, we tell them, okay, this week or this month you actually recycled this, and out of this, how many was actually wrong and how much you should actually cut down. So we wanted to create a kind of like responsibility as well lah, in a way, and ownership in the entire process.
It's very customized to each household, right?
Yeah, but actually that was also a problem lah. So I'll talk about that later. So so we also talk.
So I have some questions from the Facebook page itself, right? Okay, so actually what you're doing right here, it actually seems to be very similar to like what in the past the Rag and Bone Man, the Karang Guni is actually doing as well. So I think we have a question from Ian here, which is like, do you think the past Karang Guni, Rag and Bone persons and activities, right, in helping getting the waste from, do you think what the Karang Guni is doing, right, actually help in getting waste from the households and actually helping out in sorting the recyclables? That's one. And we also have someone else, Randall, who also asked about, having said about ownership here, how do you think we can do more on the awareness part?
Wow, okay. So for the first question, right, about how we, if I'm not wrong, the gist of the question is to ask how we are different from Karang Guni and whether they are really effective on Karang Guni. One thing is that the Karang Guni model is really different because Karang Guni actually they get some kind of they actually collect in bulk. So for us, we collect like all recyclables, paper, metal, plastic, e-waste. Even though they may be like low in value, but I will also ask the recycling operator, okay, do you want this? Is this of value to you? We collect. But for Garang Guni, right, they are really specific on the kind of things they want. So like, let's say if this week paper is down, right, I'm not going to collect it. You ownself go and like,
So if they
recycle.
do it this way and they signal to you that actually paper is down, then actually do you think it was useful to just have the household also think about it and say, actually, then maybe I shouldn't be collecting paper and because it's actually not very valuable already?
Meaning like telling the residents on.
Yeah.
We do tell the, like, let's say for plastic, right, there are certain types of plastic that can't be recycled. So I will also tell the households, like, please avoid using this kind of flimsy plastic, because instead maybe you can try using containers to tap out or something, instead of using the kind of flimsy plastic that you tap out with your coffee in. So as much as possible, I wanted to include all kinds of like recyclables because I didn't want to discourage people. And the main thing was also, the idea was to get them to really hoard their recyclables at home, because I believe that when you see in front of your eyes and you see the amount of trash that you have been hoarding for the past month, you will really wake up to the amount of things that you're disposing. Because like for us, and maybe especially old flats, right, we have dustbins in our homes. So people are just so used to throwing their trash every day. They don't know how much they produce. So for good goblins, right, the main thing was to recycle, but more of to get them to really know and identify that, wow, I'm actually doing and generating so much trash, because not everyone will be really sensitive to that stage.
So in terms of in doing itself, it technically actually made them
it's
more
an action
aware.
Yes, it was a very purposeful action it was a purposefully designed to be that way, to get them to really slowly be aware of it, yeah. So the second question was ownership. Is it was it about ownership?
Yeah.
Inculcating ownership into their ways. So this entire good governance thing was to inculcate ownership into people's lifestyle. But one thing I realized was that because waste is something that people do not want to keep in their homes, there's a lot of problems like, okay, 我的家没有位, my house has no space, and I don't want to keep all the things for like 1 month. It really has to we really have to do more on the education part, because I think perhaps I jumped too quickly into the recycling part, but maybe I could have started more on like how do we do little steps in our everyday life, like for you guys, right, Green Arch, you actually encourage people to tap out and things like that. So if people have this very very
You
far
never
idea,
encourage people to tap out.
I mean, sorry, tap out in
containers, yeah.
in your reusable
I think that's what she
containers.
meant.
Sorry, wait, how do I stop share first? I
You
cannot
can
see
just
the
pick
screen.
the
Okay.
yeah, correct.
Yeah. So honestly, right, to be honest, I do not have an answer on how we can actually inculcate more ownership, because like let's say for us, right, we know about all this, but if let's say judging by the door-to-door surveys that I've done, I can safely say that 8 out of 10 Singaporeans do not know about this, much less to say about ownership, So I think we really have to perhaps sometimes go back to ground zero and tell them about, maybe do more educating on like the ways that we are actually creating in like the MRFs or the recycling or the plants, and get them to really see. Yeah, but I would have to say that I think I've tried like inculcating ownership and things like that, but I'll be very open to hearing more ideas about ownership lah. Yeah.
Okay. But I guess we will not dwell so much on the technicalities of it, right? But I'm just curious to know, when you did all this and you realized all this as well, and it didn't kind of achieve what you wanted to do as set out at the front, then how do you make that? How do you make of that?
Okay, so my challenge was more of like so I think the challenge was more of because this waste thing is not just like a dot, it's not a speckle, it's not a individual thing, because recyclables right now, the thing is that they have nowhere to go, as you guys know also lah. That is why you guys are also making things like furniture from plastic bottles and trying to recreate higher value items. So that is one thing. Recyclables have nowhere to go. That was why I was also getting very, very dejected about my entire journey. Like, okay, I can get people to recycle, then what next? And also, like, for myself, if you guys don't know, I'm actually like a solo founder. So even though I had a lot of support from my friends like Leah and Chongzi, right, and Shirley, at a point in time, I realized that it's really key to have a team, like maybe a co-founder or volunteers, or maybe some interns like Seng yourself, which I really learned along the way as well, because no man's an island, and that was something I learned really hard lah. And how I came to that conclusion was like, as I was doing door to door, and I was facing rejections, right? Even though there was a lot of positive things, there was a lot of rejections as well. It reached to a point where I felt like I couldn't breathe with all the negativity. I felt that, you know, when that lady told me in front of a kid, what do I get from recycling? I was stunned. I'm like, okay, I thought this was a good chance to teach your child about, you know, saving resources. But yet there are some antiquated mindsets still thinking that we need to have incentives or rewards for doing something good for the earth. And this was something that I was strongly very against while doing Good Goblins. That was why we also wanted people to pay for our service, because we wanted to make it feel like, okay, you're in charge of this recycling. I paid to do it, and I want to do it willingly because I'm doing my part for the environment. So when I hear that kind of comments and people saying like, what do I get, incentives? So it reaches a point where I felt like I had this huge burden on my back alone. And then it would be like, wow, I need to really educate all these people. And where do I start now? You know, after I've been doing this, where do I go now? Do I go back to ground zero of educating, or what, you know? So that was one thing that I really learned, having a team to really shoulder. If let's say you need to pivot, you have someone to lean on, you have someone to bounce ideas with, you have someone to share your burden, which I didn't manage to find out in time. So yeah, this was something I learned.
On that note also, I know that like you also struggled to have more help because you felt as if like you didn't really have enough you know, like profits enough to pay for an intern, right? So
Right.
like, yeah, I just wanted to ask, like looking back, right, do you feel that I don't know, would you have been open to getting volunteers to be a little bit more involved rather than just going door to door?
Yes. I think I should have just opened my mouth to ask, you know. I just maybe had that intention. I am no people are just busy to volunteer. But recently I actually got this person that she emailed me saying that she wants to volunteer at Good Goblins, even though we are kind of like stagnant now. So I was like thinking, oh my god, why I didn't just like, you know, open my mouth to ask for volunteers. Hey, do you want to do something? Because I always had a thinking like, if they don't get paid, maybe they don't do that.
It's
So
a
this was something I really
feeling,
learned
right?
as well. You just have
Yeah.
to really open your mouth and ask.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, it's just really, feeling paiseh, you know, you don't want to trouble people, that kind of thing, right?
and I
No
don't
money,
want
what are they gonna get? That kind of feeling,
Yeah,
right?
precisely.
So
Yeah.
like so I just want to also like put the question back to Lee Seng then. Like, do you also feel that through starting Greenush, because you kind of also started Greenush on your own, kind of, although I know that you did have help, but of course you didn't really have a co-founder. Like, looking back also, do you feel that you would have gotten a co-founder first before you started Greenush, or you would still gone ahead with it?
Oh, okay. So I think the thought here is that definitely, ideally, I would love to have more co-founders to join me before I start this as well. But I also realized that if I were to wait for somebody to come along, right, then I would still be waiting. Then if that's the case, then nothing will start as well. So I also have to gamble or take a gamble here and saying like, let me just try and see how it goes. If it has to be a point where I have to if it comes to a point where I have to try on my own first, I'll just give it a shot lah, and then I'll take it on first. And that's really where I'm going on for now, because doing it my own means that I can also make decisions faster. So I can also then just say, okay, I'll go for it. And then let's say at one point in time, when I'm alone And when I take a holiday, it means the whole company is on a holiday. So I think it's a very good thing as well. Yeah. So it is useful, yeah. Because otherwise, there's also that commitment that I have to say, oh, if I need to take a break and stuff, I feel very guilty, like I'm not doing my part and stuff like that. So I also find that doing alone has its own merits. Obviously, if I want to do this on a long term, then I have to find somebody else, because I can't be doing this day in, day out every single day. It will burn myself out. And actually, I hear what Lena is also trying to say here, which is that when you're doing this work, right, and you receive negative feedback and stuff, right, I think more often than not is that we take it very personally.
Yes.
So when you say this kind of thing, you just feel like, oh no, is it because of me? Is it because I didn't do well? That kind of thing. And then you brought over it a lot. And I find that increasingly I realize that is not talking about me. She's not talking about me at all. She's talking about the idea, the initiative. That one must start to be a bit more separate. Like we have to distinct, and because when we're doing this alone, right, we will not be able to differentiate very quickly what is it about us or is it about our idea.
Yes. How do you like separate? Do you often feel that you are one with Green Nudge? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you? For myself, I had a lot of difficulties trying to differentiate myself from Good Goblins and myself, because I was just keep thinking about waste and everything. Then I'm like, oh my god, am I a goblin now? Am I like, if the idea is bad, is it me? Like, if people don't care about recycling and waste, is it me? How do you separate yourself from your entity?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
You cry. You cry already, then you get all your stress out. Then you're like, oh, okay. That's because it's just that one, kind of thing. Or you feel better, right? Then you feel like, okay, that's actually not me, the kind of thing. But I think the point here is to seek, not seek help, but at least to have somebody to just share your thoughts with and stuff. And even in doing so, right, at least you know that, oh, okay, actually it was actually the issue that was bothering me, not because of myself. It's not because I did something wrong and therefore it made the person reacted to me this way and things like that. Obviously, there are also times where it's going to be very hard, because the thing about doing alone is that no one else can understand what you're doing and things like that. So it can be very lonely.
Yes.
So, and at the start when I did this, I incorporated together as a company wise, it was under my name. So it became even more hard to say, oh, is it because it's my work or is it me as well? So I agree it takes a while, but I suppose in doing so, it is about managing that period itself. Yeah, I think it's not very. It's gonna be not clear at all for people who are starting out things to say, is it me or is it the idea? But I think we have to come a point in time where we realize that actually they're just different things. They're just superimposed on each other. And if we can quickly remove it, right, then at least you know that there are certain days that I can afford to also say I will take a break, because I myself, as Seng, need to take a break. Yeah.
Got it.
So it's like stepping back, like a third party kind of like perspective on everything, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Actually,
I must say that because we do this on our own, right? I think it also makes us feel a lot more easier to reach that realization as well, because we also have to realize that we can't do this for a long while, if you get what I mean. Yeah, as compared to perhaps if you are in a relatively stable job and stuff, sometimes it's very hard to distinguish that, because to you, like, it's very clear what kind of thing. But when you're doing it alone, when you face that challenge, right, that realization comes in after a while as well.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thanks, guys, for sharing a bit more. I think I'm just like really taking note of the time right now, and maybe perhaps I guess we've really delved a little bit into the challenges that you guys have faced, like, in starting this on your own, how Lena's initiatives is like quite very manual, very labor intensive, and how you realize that maybe you should have just been a little bit more vocal and just be courageous to just ask, does anyone like want to help? I'm sorry I can't pay you, but I do want to help, so
yeah, man.
Yeah, so maybe like how about like would you guys want to just share one memorable moment, like something that really, really struck you that actually helped you, at least on a personal level, that kept you going? Was there any sort of moments that you experienced?
Maybe Lisa, you want to go first? Why are you smiling?
I can't remember already. I know.
Memorable enough.
It's memorable because I So when I think of memorable here, right, I think people will just think of it as an image, a snapshot, and they're like, oh, that's a memorable part, right?
Yeah.
I think my memorable here is actually when I remember in the feeling that I have that, oh shucks, this was really worth doing it. And I think it's probably one of those moments when after I've done an event and stuff, right, and I realized that, oh wow, I really managed to create that. So if you don't mind, maybe I'll just share a quick photo as well.
Sure.
Since Lena also had a photo, so let me see if I can find a photo as well, and I quickly share.
Okay.
It's just 2 photos, very simple photos, in fact. And I'm trying to get it up here.
Are you able to?
Yeah. Okay. So
Okay. Yeah.
So let me know if you can see or cannot see the slide. Okay. So this is when I first started out, literally when I was doing an initiative, and this was in 2017, where we were trying to collect the banana peels to be sent for compost as well. And I think probably one of the memorable part was the fact that from here it morphed from just a volunteer setup, very impromptu, where we had a couple of items only. And I think the next year what we did was we actually had a chance to broaden it up to where we are. And I think that, and the fact that when we did this and we had a lot of people joining us for this and saying like, we want to help out, we want to really help the green and stuff. And this was also done in a way where it was not paid. I think it really made me feel like, yes, this was really worth it, because people really make the effort to do so. They might not necessarily in their own lives, right, have the chance to create their own initiative. But I felt that because I took the step to do so, it made it a lot more worthwhile for others as well. So I find that, hey, actually that was a feeling that I felt that it was worth it. Not so much of the snapshot per se.
Yes. And it's also a validation that you're really doing something worth it for the environment.
Yeah. Okay, stop share.
And Lena, how about yourself? Or was that moment with the family that you mentioned previously?
So I think I think for me the memorable moments were more of like, as what Listen shared, the validation that we got from like customers or non-customers. So I have one negative and positive moment. Like, remember that the negative one was the one that I shared with you, the family, that lady, she was saying like, in front of a child, I was sharing with her about Pulau Semakau and everything. Then she was saying, okay, what do I get for recycling? What do I get out of it? So that was something that really set me back and set me back thinking like, maybe I should take a few steps back. So that was one of the rejections. For one of the positive moments, there were a few, but one of the things that I shared before was like, these few people, they really, after the week where we introduced the pilot trial in that area, the following week they actually got their own recycling bins. And recycling bins, sorting bins are not that cheap in Singapore. Like when I saw in IKEA, like one of them actually cost like $19 or something. Or on Taobao, is at least like maybe $7 or $8. They actually took the effort to go online, or they go to NTUC or IKEA to actually get the bins for my service, even though it was just a trial. So it made me real. And also Mr. Chong, he was saying like, hey, I didn't know that I was recycling wrongly for the past 10 years of my life until you told me that, this can be recycled. And I actually saved him that time, even though my trial was just a few weeks in the area. So I also felt like, okay, maybe this service is really doing something good, and that we can actually motivate people to really start segregating their recyclables and waste at home. And this is really challenging because in Singapore, we know that 80% of us stay in high-rise apartments, and the area is really small. So I think this was something that really encouraged me in when I was doing the journey. And also there was this lady, Jean, she always like squeeze me ang pao every time I go there and collect. I'm like, please don't give me, it's not part of it. But she's like, I think you're very 可怜 you just take some ang pao, let me support you whatever I can. Then she give me ang pao every there are like 2 times out of 2 times she really give me the ang pao. Then she's okay, it just made me like, wow, oh my gosh, she's so nice. Yeah. So these were the really like sweet moments of validation from these customers. It was very funny. Maybe I should go and visit her sometime. And she was also one of the people that she told me about Japan's recycling flyer and guide. She even sent me online, say, hey Lena, can you do something like this? The Japanese one is all in Japanese. Can you do like a Singaporean version? So I'm like, hey, that's a good idea. So that was why we also have this recycling guide, because that was something that she wanted. Then even though my pilot ended in Bishan, I actually messaged her and say, hey, we did this because of you. So feel free to bring it
Wow.
out and
Wow.
put it on your fridge. So yeah,
Wow.
So
those
I
were
must
the
say, right,
happy
because of
moments.
all these, right, how do I put it? I think these are all the things that we didn't plan for, and it just came around like that.
Yeah,
And I think these are also some of the things that really are the surprises. It really kind
yeah,
of, I find it very rewarding. It goes me
yes,
lah. So and I think what I'm trying to say here is that all these are not planned. You can't plan for all this. You can't
Yep.
plan for someone to give you an angpao when you're doing all this kind of thing, right? And you have no expectation of it. But because of that, it
yes,
made it more sweet. It made it a lot more rewarding. And I think it also
yes.
contributes us to do so. And I
Mm.
also think like because of all these, it is also useful to note that for people who are trying this out, it is the human interaction here that actually made us feel like, hey, it's worth doing
Yes,
it, right?
yes.
It's not because like, oh, because of the, I mean, Semakau thing
Many
is one
likes
thing.
or something.
Yeah, it's the fact that when we're talking to all these people, you realize that, oh, wow, okay. Contrary to the belief that people are weird or people are very negative, actually when when you find people who are supportive, they go all the
They can
way. They
really
will give
surprise
you,
you. Yeah, they can
yeah,
really surprise you sometimes.
yeah. So
Mm.
so I think that was also something that I've come to realize lah.
Mm.
So I know this is maybe a little bit off topic, but Lena, because you're a lady, like a girl, right? I mean,
Mm.
lady, young lady, right?
Yeah.
So like you're going to each person's house, but do you ever felt like your safety was compromised in any way?
Mm.
A very
Actually,
curious question that popped in my head. Yeah.
no, okay, there was this instance where this guy actually popped behind the door. Then he was like, I think he was naked or something. I think then he looked soaking wet and everything. Then he was like, okay, so what do you want? Then I say, oh, do you want to sign up for my service? So he actually took my phone and he closed the door. Then I was like, oh my god, did he just take my phone and close the door for like 3 minutes? Then, but after that, in the end, he opened the door again. Then he passed me back my phone. So I was like, okay, he's not going to do anything. So I mean, so I think when I went there, I didn't have that kind of thinking that I'll be like my safety will be compromised. And also, cause I think I'm just like the 敢敢做 kind. So like maybe sometimes when my attitude might also feel like, wow, this girl a bit like, okay, I better don't try to be like, you know. Yeah, so I think it was okay lah. I didn't have that kind of problems, but like when I was in the recycling factory for instance, and I felt also like a bit like am I going to like make them inconvenienced because a lot of the MRF workers are also males, and then would they also I would also have the kind of mindset like, you know, would they think like, yeah, you know, it's just this Xiao Mei Mei doing this initiative thing, you know. But sometimes it can also be a benefit to you because they feel like, okay, you're young and you are a girl and you want to try something different in this male dominated space. And I think that can also be a merit where they give you chance to try, even if let's say the project may not be like a superb thing, but it gives you the chance to like try different things. And like versus if let's say you are like much older, and maybe if you're a guy, maybe they were like, huh, what are you trying to do, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah.
Okay. So I guess like what I'm trying to bring to light here is like for anyone who's like thinking of starting a new venture or what, just obviously safety is still very important for sure, like your personal safety. So
Yeah.
just want to know like because I mean as you go through all this even before starting this and knowing that you'll be going to different households, did you actually have like some sort of like, I don't know, your own personal safety protocols in any way? And do you feel that you definitely need to prepare something like that?
No leh, because when I went door to door, I also had people, one or two volunteers or friends that were going with me.
Okay.
But when I was going on my door to door, one thing I would like to share is that don't have any kind of preconceived assumptions or judgments of the people you're going to meet. Like sometimes, right, when I'm talking to a customer and a potential customer, then in my head they're like, oh, yeah, you know, maybe they will not be interested. But sometimes they really surprise you because they, you know, after their quiet demeanor and the moment they ask you question, they're like, okay, so how do I sign up for this? And like, you know, sometimes you are really surprised because like let's say in your head you already have this notion like, yeah, you know, maybe this person is not interested in the environment. But you know, sometimes it just really is different from the way you expected it to be. So just really have an open mindset when you go out to meet potential customers.
All right. Okay. I see.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Lisa, do you want to share anything else, or shall we move on to the next question?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think
move on to the next question.
Yeah,
looking at the
I think
time.
we are kind of running late, guys. So and
Oh.
we are really aware of that. So
Yes.
let's
So anyway, for those who just need to
I'm
leave,
laughing because like, how come Claire want to ask me like, it's okay, you can continue.
I mean, your boss what? Okay, but anyways, but I am the host, so like, yes. So
Yes.
yes. So, but of course, those who are listening to us, if you need to go off, that's fine. Feel free to just leave your questions again in the comments, and we'll definitely address it. And you can come back again, to watch and to see whether we've answered your question. Yeah.
There's
So
someone that said hi from Cambodia. Hi.
oh
Hello.
hi! Wow, that is so cool.
How do you know of this event?
How did you even know about us?
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Okay.
People can
never
really
mind.
surprise you. Yeah. Okay, so I think the last component that I just do want to like, tease out from you guys is it's how you guys approach in caring for yourself a little bit more. So not just I know you guys share a little bit, but maybe just really dive a little bit deeper about sharing about how you care for yourself more mentally and emotionally and even physically, so as to maintain your initiative in the longer run and to maintain yourself as well. Yeah, maybe Lisa, you can share first.
I think for myself, I'm starting to realize that I need to really take some time off as well. So that from time to time, really just take out the time to do something different. For me, it's reading, writing, or just and I find that what has been super useful, but I don't like to do is exercise. So that actually it takes out my time, right? Then I will actually take away the mind from doing it. I think um, it can be quite challenging and tiring to do so, especially after a long day and stuff. But I find that to be a lot more useful because I have taken the time off physically to take a mental break in a sense. Yeah. Yeah, but otherwise it's really about checking in once in a while. And what I also like, I haven't done this yet, but I would love to, is really just take some time off for certain periods of the year itself and take that time away from all distractions and stuff, read out something, learn something, or if the pandemic improves, for instance, travel around a little and hear out how people are doing as well, how people are living their own lives, and basically plug yourself out from somewhere to, from Singapore to somewhere else around the world, and then use that opportunity to learn, to talk to people, just to hear people out. I think that has been, that I would love to do it again, is how I also been trying to manage myself accordingly.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and how about Lena? How about yourself?
I think mine is more of simple. Like when I was doing goodgoblins, one thing that I realized was that I haven't been taking care of my own like needs, you know. So like on retrospect, how I would have done things differently was that I would still attempt to do things that I like to do. So like recently I actually got into this like online book sharing club. So we actually get to share one chapter a day and everyone share their learnings and insights from the book. Because I like reading, but I think during the course of doing goblins, I didn't really spend time to continue on my hobby. So that was what I recently started going back again. And I also read this very good book recently. It's called Essentialism, and I actually introduced to Seng. So you guys can actually check it out as well. And
Space is like, oh.
and yes,
Yeah,
also.
I did.
So do you manage to read it?
It's in my book list here because I'm finishing other books first. But
Okay.
I think we share the link and stuff later on. So we share with everyone what it is, because the book that she shared, I also found it in the website that also helped to discuss it further. And I think that was like, whoa, really, really useful.
Yeah. So that's one really going back to my hobbies and just detach away totally yourself from what you do, what your work entails. And also I am also attempting to create more healthy meals for myself. Like I don't cook actually, but recently I realized that maybe it's good to start doing something good for yourself once in a while. So I actually go back to grocery shopping, getting my own ingredients and trying to make a fuss out of the kitchen, you know, whether or not I like whether it can be eaten or not, but at least now I actually gave it a shot and most of the time it actually pasta. So these are the things I've been trying to do. And also my friend actually my friend once did mention this app to me, Headspace meditation app. So I think it's also a beginner's guide to meditating. So and I think it's really good for beginners who want to calm their mind. So yeah.
Okay, all right, cool. So like I'm hearing a little bit like, because of like and when you mentioned about this book club, like the word that came out to me was like accountability. So like, did you feel that having someone
totally like, you know, like sometimes you just like read for fun, you know, But now after I joined a book club, right, which my brother-in-law introduced me to, then I'm like, wow, I really need to be serious, man. I actually take out my notebook and then write down the points that I need to share. And it also forces you to be really concise on the things that you want to share. And it forces you to also like structure your thoughts instead of just blindly reading. Then after the whole book, then you realize that, hey, what did I read? Yeah, that kind of thing. So yeah, that personal accountability thing really works because it forces you to improve yourself.
Yes. Yeah, I think also like it kind of helps to instill some sort of discipline as well, right? Because I think I'm sensing that as founders also, like you tend to get so sucked into the work that you now have to specifically take yourself out just to do something else. Is that right? That is not relating to work at all.
I think just being individual in this case, or the work that we're doing as a bit more solo capacity, right? Just brings home the point that there are other parts of us that we need to take care of, like the physical side, the mental side, and even the emotional side as well. Those also have to be taken care of as part of our own life journey. And I think working in our own capacity just accelerated that understanding. I presume people would eventually realize it, and I hope that people would realize it. It's just that that discovery as somebody who is working alone or in a smaller group just has to come in from yourself. You have to realize it fast enough.
Yeah. And also
go ahead.
And also one thing I realized when I was also talking to one of our mutual friends, Shi Hui, she was also saying that, when we do things, I realized that I shouldn't be thinking of it of like a short run, like a chong, when I was doing goblins, I'm like thinking, okay, how should I do all these at once, it began to become very overwhelming. One thing I learned was really how do you actually pace yourself out such that you can really run this marathon for a long time instead of like having this big ball of things and then you feel overwhelmed by all of it, which I want to learn also. If I'm not wrong, Lee Seng also has this routine where on Mondays he does like certain things and Tuesday he does.
Oh, yeah. So it's just basically called batching. So that means for certain things, I will just do on a certain day itself so that then I don't have to waste time to keep going back to it once more and things like that. So like operational stuff or admin stuff, I'll do it on one certain day. The next day, I'll just focus on other parts of the work itself. And then I'll do that accordingly. However, I also know that means if you miss me on Monday, then you will come back on Monday. No, just kidding. But yeah, I'm trying to make sure that it's done more systematically so that I also maximize my time and I also make sure that I deliver my promise to whoever I'm working with.
Yeah. And having a routine also frees your brain energy to think about, okay, what am I going to do today? Having a routine kind of like release your mind space for really important things.
Okay, so like maybe just to conclude a little bit, as in like what's your biggest takeaway from this experience so far, and like have you learned a lot about yourself, for instance? I mean, what have you learned about yourself? I'm sure you've learned a lot about yourself.
It's a lot. Maybe listening who goes first?
Yes.
Green boss goes first.
Yes, green boss goes.
I think this is where we are all not very sure what to say as well. But I think I would like to do this again, definitely. I would like to say I would like to do this much earlier, in fact, when I'm even perhaps more idealistic, more naive, and perhaps a lot more energy to try it and give it a shot.
Yeah, you're still young.
Yeah.
You're still young.
I think it is about that the experience itself makes you grow a lot more, and that's really a takeaway that and I think how do I say this, and I own the experience because I have taken the time to go and do the work I'm doing, and therefore whatever comes out of it is really my own takeaway. It is not shaped by others. It is not shaped by views from others as well. And because of that, the biggest takeaway is I'm being molded because I deliberately went into a space to learn, and that is really what I would say has been the best experience so far. It is something that I have the control over in dealing with what I want to do.
Talking about ownership, right? Like one thing I learned about myself, which I could have done better, was that to really own the work that I do. Like for myself, I'm pretty much of a very behind the scenes person. So like and even when I was doing Good Goblins, I was also a bit paiseh to share with my relatives or my close like friends that I was doing this, you know, because like the mindset is like, okay, what if this doesn't go through, then what happens? But you know, if you have that kind of mindset of really not owning everything, like even for my Facebook, if you see my job scope, right, I'm still at intern at my ex place, like really, really bad place. So I didn't have the kind of like courage to own that, hey, I actually own Good Goblins, and I founded this waste like Good Goblins company. So one thing I took away, mostly like one thing I took away was that you really have to own the work that you do, and to really have the mindset that I'm really going to give it my entire best. Not always having that kind of mindset like, okay, never mind if it fails. Because if you have the mindset, you will fail, you know? But really go all out. Like, okay, being daring to say that Good Goblins is mine, and like changing all my let's say for my profile links in Facebook and LinkedIn and everything like that. And the second thing is really to take calculated risks. Like looking back, I think that my 8 months of research when I was still being a employee was not enough. I could have still maybe tried to look for grants, for instance, or try to see how volunteer management would be, and how would the entire collection be. Let's say I could have still worked and did it on the weekends. So that was one thing I really, really learned. And also thirdly, to really build a team, which is something I really strongly emphasize. Be it volunteers, co-founders, really just put yourself out there to ask. Yeah. So these are the 3 things. Yeah.
Hey, thank you.
All right.
Thank
Woo.
you.
Okay, would you do this again, Lena?
Yes. Yes. No hesitations. No
Wow.
hesitations. No
Awesome.
hesitations.
Nice.
Yeah. Without a beat, I would say yes. Even though I'm pretty beat after this. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so
I think Seng as well lah. He would do it all over again.
Real.
Okay.
a nod. That was like very different from Lena, but okay.
He's a cool type, you know.
Yeah, cool. Yes, you
Okay.
will. Yeah. Listen, do you have any like nuggets of wisdom to share to any individuals who are also like yourself trying to start up something, whether it's a project or a business?
I think like what we have shared, I guess the gist of an entire session today, if anything, is about just giving it a shot. Just try it out. It doesn't have to be a full-time commitment, for instance.
Yes.
Just give it a try. And I think at this age and time where we in Singapore particularly, I think I can say that there's a lot of options for us to give it a shot. So we don't have to be concerned about just choosing a safe path. I think it is perfectly fine if you can try out something different.
But of course, taking calculated risk as well. Yeah.
Yay.
All right. So I think I can just close our sharing for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Yes, thank you, Lee Seng and Lena, for joining us today and to really share a little bit more about your own personal journey. I'm sure it's not very easy to do this, especially to sharing to people on online platform. I think I just want to also recap, like just 3 main points from our sharing today is that how before you actually want to venture into something new, totally very risky, of course, try to remember what is your own personal mission before you go into it, and also calculate your risk. Do not just do it on impulse. I'm sure Lena and Lisa, you both agree on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also like figure out what is it that will pull you through the long run as well. Also to accept challenges and failures. You're going to have failures and you're going to have a lot of challenges along the way, right? And that's to expect it and actually to embrace it even. I think maybe, why are you listening? So, okay.
Yeah, I'm so happy.
Yeah, that's why.
He's very happy today.
I know, right? I think like how we've been brought up in our education system, like how we're always celebrating our wins, celebrating our A's. But I think what I think right now also people are trying to steer towards is that I think we should also start to celebrate our failures as well. And I think that's something that is very hard for people to accept and to even take it in. Even I myself also, I can be a bit of a worry.
Wow, he agreed. Without a beat.
Yeah, I know, right? That was so fast, this one. Okay, without a beat. Yeah, so I myself also realized personally that I don't like to make mistakes. And I realized also even though I'm not a founder, I realized that I need to be a bit more brave in making mistakes. And that's something I'm still working on. Yeah. So
And also when making decisions, I realized that sometimes we won't know that I realized that there's no such thing as a wrong decision. Like we won't know that it's wrong until we really tried. Then we are like, oh shit, that was a bad take. But so that was one thing I really learned as well. There's no such thing as a wrong decision. You just really have to take it, and because that was the best choice you had at that point in time.
Yes. Actually, a friend has also told me that as well.
Mm.
I think it was also a realization of myself that the wrong decision is actually not whether you make a right or wrong decision, is actually not making a decision at all and not taking that into nugget of wisdom from Clare.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And also, I think before you actually go into something that as big as this, like a career change, and setting up something new, also be prepared that to see such initiative as a marathon and not a sprint, as what Lena has mentioned earlier, and to also think of ways of how are you going to take care of yourself. I mean, I think a lot of founders, you guys are always very excited to achieve something and produce something, but at the same time, you must also take a step back to think about how you can take care of yourself in the long run as well, because we all ultimately are humans at the end of the day, and the emotional part of ourself is also equally important, right, guys?
Well said, dude.
Yes, I have summarized this well. So
Yay.
so before we end this session, just last question to Lee Seng and to Lena. What are some of the things that you can expect from Green Nudge and from Good Goblins, especially since phase 2 is happening tomorrow?
Stunned.
Okay.
We are all stunned. Never
Yeah,
hear
we
this
are stunned.
question.
We are stunned. We are stunned. Okay, for Good Goblins,
I
right?
thought-
We are currently on a hiatus. Okay, we are on a hiatus, but we still do want to grow our social media because education is really really important. So if let's say you're willing to volunteer, please feel free to reach out to me, because then we can create interesting content together. That is really understandable for everyone. So how about you, Nising?
Oh wait, just a pause. A shout out to Lena's like please go check out her Instagram. She has had that brochure that she was talking about what can or cannot be recycled. I was equally like surprised when I actually stumbled on it, and I thought I was recycling correctly, but I didn't know I was recycling the wrong way as well. So the expert on recycling is Good Goblins right here, Lena. Yeah.
No, not
good
expert.
girl.
I'm still also learning a lot as well. But for some items, just to share briefly, like some items are really tricky, like Tetra Pak. They do have recycling facilities, but just not in Singapore. We do not have the technology here in Singapore. So until that happens, please just be updated on our website or our Instagram.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
So for Lisa yourself, how about Green Nudge after phase 2? I mean, when phase 2 starts.
We would definitely love to have similar conversations like that. In fact, I'm thinking like maybe we should not tell people it's 1 hour, since it's like 1.5 hours. Because like go extend until very mad and we still have people following us. So
Let's see if there
like,
are still viewers.
thank you.
Okay,
Yeah,
please.
Thank you so much for doing so. Yeah,
Thank
but
you.
I think we probably will do similar conversations with various individuals. And if you know of anybody who you think like you want to get them to talk about this, right? I think feel free to let's see how we can and do so as well. Because I really feel like even as I'm hearing from people and as I share, I'm revisiting my own thoughts. I'm revisiting my own whys. And I feel like it's also very useful to just share this with others as well. Only if it is, if people, and if at least one person find that it's actually, hey, actually it can be applied in their own life, I think it's great. We have managed to do something that's useful as well.
Yeah.
But beyond that, we're also trying to see how we could work along. I think if you have a chance to observe how we are going along with our videos, you'll start to notice a trend in why we're trying to do all this as well. And I think we'll share this more in time to come. But for now, it is about how we'd like to pivot ourselves accordingly to, which I'll keep it for next time.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, guys. All right. Woo. Yeah, okay. So anyway, just a very quick announcement for those who are still here with us. As what Lee Sing has mentioned, that we will have a series of talks. So the next conversation on Green Conversations is actually with Singapore's key person in the recycling industry. That actually Lena actually briefly mentioned in her first part of her sharing, and his name is actually Mr. Thomas Wong, who is from Impetus Conceptus, and he's actually he's one of those key person in the recycling industry. And so we're going to have a short chat with him where he'll tell us a little bit more about the current trends of the industry and what are some of the ways that, because recycling is quite complicated. I think Lena has already quite given us a glimpse of that. And so he's going to share a little bit more about the industry itself and how we can improve our recycling rate too. Yes. And yeah, so I'll be hosting that session.
So when is it? When is the session? Have you guys decided?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
So that will
not
be
yet.
next Thursday again at 8 p.m. I will not say that it's from 8 to 9. Just say that for now, I'll just say that's at 8 p.m.
Okay.
Yes. It seems like it's a green
You
light
guys can be prepared. That is maybe longer.
Yeah.
I think we will be long if there's a need to. I don't think we want to like just talk excessively also lah. It's not really the thing. I think
Okay.
yeah lah. So we still keep
Yeah.
the principle that we will talk when necessary.
Thanks so much, guys.
Very long,
For today, 1 hour, 24 minutes. Thanks so much.
It's
If
very
you are
long.
here, you can still say hi, you know.
Yeah, but thank you very much anyone for who is joining us as well. I appreciate it.
Please
Thank
feel free to also
you.
comment like what you learned and what you would like to hear more from Green Knight or maybe
Enjoy
myself.
phase 2 tomorrow.
Yes.
Chong
And
ah.
again, please go and follow Good Goblins. Check them out as well. Right.
Please wear masks.
And
Yeah.
please wear masks. Reusable if you can.
Yeah.
Actually, no, we encourage.
The
We strongly
disposable one cannot recycle, by the way. Yeah, just saying. Okay.
Yeah, see, from the girl herself. All right. Okay, thank you so much. And hope you guys have a good night.
Yay.
Bye.
Thank you, Clare and Seng.
Yay.
And thank you, our viewers.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
See you guys next time if there's a chance.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
What if there's a chance? You got a chance one? Hello.
If there's a chance, I mean.